It has been a while since I've last sat down in the seat and talked about Wrexham Football Club. It's been well over a month. A lot has happened since then, and I can only apologise for the lack of content that has come out on the channel over the past month and a half. I've obviously been very busy with university, with it coming up until Christmas, and then obviously you might have seen on the community post I was in A&E quite badly ill over Christmas, but we're all back to scratch now, and we're back at the perfect time to return to the channel because it's the transfer window. Wrexham are flying in the Championship. Game by game, we look like we're closer to achieving the goal that we've all dreamed of, which is the Premier League. And obviously, we're going to be talking transfer news today. It was going to be one video that we were going to return on. It's transfer news. We're going to be talking about players that have come back to the club, players that could leave the club, and obviously players that Wrexham could go out and sign in the next coming weeks to strengthen our squad as we look to get that historic Premier League promotion. Before we get going in today's video, if you would like to support the channel further, you can obviously click the red subscribe button down below. We're on the road to 29,000 subscribers. Let's go for a big like target now that we are back on the channel. Let's go for 800 likes on today's video, and without further ado, let's get talking transfer news. Talking first on probably the greatest striker in recent years at Wrexham Football Club, Paul Mullin. Now, after speculation from weeks on end, obviously from Wigan's side, from Wrexham's side, there was sort of just speculation that Paul Mullin was going to have his loan cut short of Wigan Athletic, and after the speculation, Wrexham have now confirmed that Paul Mullin has returned to the club after Wigan Athletic have chosen to activate the break clause in his contract. Obviously, Paul Mullin signed for Wigan Athletic in League One on, I think it was June the 25th, June the 26th, so in the summer, and obviously now we're in January, in the opening days of the transfer window, his loan has been cut short. Wrexham have confirmed that the club will assess Mullin on his return, and having only represented one club in all competitions this season, they'll explore all the possible options for the striker's future. Now, I think a lot of people want to see him return to the Wrexham squad. I've seen on Facebook, I've seen on Twitter, people saying give him that one last return in the Wrexham squad, give him a run out in the games, keep him as like a third, fourth choice striker, but I just can't see it happening. I think, okay, Paul Mullin has done so much for this football club. He's probably going to be the best striker we see for years upon years, but we need to let go of that sentimental value. As we go up the leagues, we need to start, building a squad that is going to compete in that league, and Paul Mullin has not cut it for Wrexham in League One or for Wigan Athletic in League One, so I highly doubt he's suddenly going to become a really big super striker, goal scoring striker in this Wrexham squad in a team that's pushing for the playoffs. I just can't see it happening, and I can't see him being included or featuring in any games. I think he'll probably train with Wrexham until maybe for the next 2-3 weeks, see what happens with the loan spell. Could he get a League 2 loan move? Could he get another League 1 loan move? We really don't know at this moment in time, but I think a return back to the Wrexham squad and seeing him back in a Wrexham shirt is 99.9% unlikely at this moment in time. It would be really good for me, it'd be good for a lot of fans just to see him maybe get a couple of minutes at the end of every game. That's what we want because he's one of the best strikers we've had in our club's history, but we need to let go of that sentimental value and do what's best for Mullin and the club. And I spoke on it on the video when Paul Mullin did leave Wrexham, but I strongly believed at the time that manager Ryan Lowe was going to get the best out of Paul Mullin, but it's evidently just not worked out, and we do see it quite often with loan spells. We see it where players return, just a couple of months into the loan, whether it's a lack of game time, whether it's not fitting into the squad, not really being, first choice, second choice, going down the pecking order. And like I've just said on the pecking order, Wigan Athletic were a team in League One that needed that recruitment in the final third. They recruited in the final third, and Mullin just evidently dropped down the pecking order over time, and I think now he's probably become the third or fourth choice striker. And yes, he was getting game time, I think 25 games featured, but I think he only started one game since October, so I think there were loads of pointers towards Mullin returning back to Wrexham and assessing what's next for the 31-year-old. It's not been the loan spell that Wrexham fans hoped for, that Wigan fans hoped for. We were hoping that Mullin would go to Wigan and score 10-15 goals and possibly come back to Wrexham, and the fact he's only started 7 games in the league for a struggling Wigan Athletic team, I think says a lot, and says a lot about where Ryan Lowe saw him in the squad for Wigan Athletic. And the fact he's played just over 650 minutes and he's been at the club until January is really, really poor, I think, on Mullin's standards, and from what Wrexham fans and Parky expected from Ryan Lowe to make Paul Mullin their main choice striker. But again, you can't just guarantee that, and you can't just wish for that, and you can't tell Ryan Lowe to play him every single week. That's not really what you do as a manager, and that's not what a loan spell consists of. But I'm glad he's been ruthless, Ryan Lowe, because Mullin will come back to Wrexham now, and I'm sure he'll be hungry to go somewhere else where he's going to play regularly and score goals, because we know he can score goals. Has the injury to, I think he had surgery on his back and obviously the punctured lung injury a couple of years ago, has that sort of affected his stride and affected his consistency in game time? Because as we know, as players get older, they lose that extra yard, they lose that extra bit of pace about them, and as Mullin's got older, he's had these 2 really serious injuries, so we don't know on that front. It's a bit of a shame for Mullin because he has to come back to Wrexham and then has to assess his future and move elsewhere mid-season, which again for any player isn't good at all. But let's see what happens with Paul Mullin. And talking about a bit of news that surfaced, I think 2 weeks ago now, I'd like to just touch upon it because I think it was really interesting at the time and I haven't had an opportunity to speak on it on the channel. But a few days after Christmas, rumours started circling across social media from a few different news outlets saying Josh Windass could be set for a return to Glasgow Rangers with former manager Danny Roll, who Windass did play under at Sheffield Wednesday last season in the Championship. But it's now been confirmed that Wrexham Football Club have no intention of letting Josh Windass go. Now, in my opinion, whether there were any truth in those rumours or not, we should not be letting a player go, especially halfway through the Championship season where Wrexham are in such a strong position, especially as well in the form that Wrexham are in, and also the fact that Windass has registered 10 goals and assists in the Championship this season, the second most in Wrexham's squad after Kiefer Moore. We would be stupid to have let Josh Windass go, especially to Glasgow Rangers, a league, yes, he's going to be playing those big games against currently top of the table Hearts, Celtic, you're looking at those European games, but Josh Windass, why would he leave a promotion contending team in Wrexham, touch wood that will be there come the end of the season, for Glasgow Rangers? I really don't get it. I know obviously Danny Roll linking up with him, a manager he really was fond of at his time at Sheffield Wednesday, but in Wrexham sense as well, why would we even consider letting Josh Windass go? And I'm glad the club have cleared this up. I think, there's a couple of sources coming out that Wrexham have no intention of selling him, and I've seen a lot of people voice their opinions on social media about Josh Windass. They're definitely mixed opinions, and a lot of people are saying yes, he's contributing at the end of the field, 10 goals and assists. If he's providing those goals for Wrexham and creating those chances and creating those goals which are seen as go up and up the table, there's not really an issue. I've seen a lot of people saying he's got an attitude problem, this, that, whatever. I'm not bothered. I'm really not bothered. I think Josh Windass on his day is a fantastic player. I don't think there's anything going on behind the scenes. If we knew that there was a problem with Josh Windass, we wouldn't see him playing week in, week out. We wouldn't see him, featuring in the matchday squad. He's a fantastic player on his day. We just need to get that consistent Josh Windass that we know we can get and that we've seen so far in the Championship. Yeah, he's been a big part of this Wrexham team so far in our journey in the Championship with his contributions up the field, creating the chances, just being that sort of creative outlet in the final third, and we shouldn't ever consider Josh Windass leaving the club. Talking on striker Ryan Hardie now, Hardie has sustained a knee injury in our 2-2 draw at home to Watford. 3.5 weeks later, after that draw at home to Watford, he's still not returned to league action for Wrexham Football Club. And there's been questions raised on social media, and I've raised the question to myself, could this possibly impact any potential move that Ryan Hardie could see happening in the future weeks of the January transfer window? Of course, Hardie would have to complete a medical to sign for another club, and if he's got this knee injury, the medical won't be completed, which means he would obviously still be on the books at Wrexham for the rest of the season. He obviously could get replaced by another striker if Wrexham do want to get one in. But I'm sure at this moment in time, Ryan Hardie does want to get a move elsewhere on loan until the end of the season. Hardie's only had 2 starts in the Wrexham team, and the Scotsman, again, is going to be looking for a move elsewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if both parties are actively looking to work on a loan move. Could he land a Championship move? We really don't know. He's probably the type of striker that would suit, maybe at this moment in time, a team that's struggling for goals, maybe a Sheffield Wednesday, a Blackburn. Who knows? Could he get a Championship move, a League One move? I definitely think Hardie could get, because he's proven himself in the Championship before for Plymouth Argyle. It's about now getting a move where he's going to be playing regularly and actively until the end of the season, because unless a miracle happens and Hardie comes back into the squad, scores a hat-trick and then becomes our top scorer for the end of the season, I cannot see him getting back into this Wrexham team, let alone the matchday squad. Talking now on a potential incoming for Wrexham Football Club. Now, Wrexham are in the race for yet another wing-back. Wrexham could land another wing-back, as we've seen so many times across 2025 and now potentially 2026. This time it's Hammarby's Hampus Skoglund who's on Phil Parkinson's radar going into the January transfer window for a reported £3 million. I've probably butchered his name, and I'm going to probably butcher his name so many times, but I've looked on Google. Skoglund, I think, currently plays his football in Sweden, of course, for Hammarby, where he had a very successful season last year, playing an important role on the right flank for them as they finished second and qualified for the Europa Conference League. Now, if we're looking at him as a player on scout reports, of course, looking across different scout reports made from Swedish outlets, he's a very fast and direct wing-back, which is what we've seen so far on that right-hand side from Issa Kabore, obviously our championship signing that we made in the summer from Manchester City. He's a player that loves to get down the right-hand flank, put that cross into the box, just bring that ball forward, and it looks like we could be bringing another player in with similar attributes, and his attacking and defensive qualities are also set to be key traits that he does carry in the team for Hammarby. Now, if we are looking at this, and me personally, I've known it over the past couple of years, we've seen some real gems come out of Sweden that have gone on to do bigger and better things, not only in England but just all across Europe. So if we could get him in now at the perfect time, I think we face competition from German side Mainz, so if we can get him in for a really good fee of around £2.5–3 million, we can continue to develop him, if we can get that regular championship football for him under his belt, I think you could be looking at possibly a player, if he does well, that could triple, maybe quadruple in value if they are looking to sell him on in the future. But at this moment in time, he's 21 years old. He's proven himself in the top league of Swedish football. He's going to be playing in Europe next year if he stays at Hammarby. They finished second. He was providing the assists last year. I think he had 4 assists to his name, plenty of crosses, which we're going to be looking at his statistics now, which just further back up how positive and how creative he is as a wing back, and how he would just really suit this system at Wrexham, because Phil Parkinson, we know it over his tenure at Wrexham, he loves a wing back that's going to go forward. He loves an attacking wing back, and Skoglund is one of those players that is going to provide the numbers going forward, going to provide the chances. And if we are looking at last season for the youngster, he registered 12 successful crosses, 4 assists, 17 successful dribbles and 24 chances created for a right back in a Hammarby setup. Of course, they've got quality all over the pitch. As we've seen, they finished second in the Swedish division. There's been some top talent, like I said, come out of Sweden, so securing his services for £3 million could be a really strategical bit of business from Wrexham in future years to come. But if we're looking at it now, we're buying him to bring him into the Wrexham setup to just further enhance our chances of promotion to the Premier League. If Wrexham are going to go out there this season and, go all out for the Premier League, we need quality. We need players that are going to push players in every single area of the pitch. And we've seen them say at the start of the season, or I think maybe a month or two into the season, that they're not going to buy and go gun-ho in the January transfer window, but we are in such a good position. I wouldn't say buy 4 or 5 different players. I'd say maybe if we can bring 1 or 2 really good players that Phil Parkinson knows are going to come into this squad and just take us from here where we are at the minute in our consistent run of form to here contending for promotion to the Premier League, then Wrexham Football Club could be well on our way. But if you're looking away from that, we're looking at the options that Wrexham would have in that right wing back spot. We've got Skoglund, we've got Kabore, we've got Longman, we've got Ryan Hardie. 4 very good players, 4 very good attacking players down that right hand side, and it makes you raise the question, who would leave Wrexham Football Club if Skoglund is to come into the club? Because someone has to leave. We can't have 4 good quality right wing backs in the Wrexham team and one of them miss out, and possibly 2 of them miss out on the matchday squad week in, week out. I think at this moment in time, Kabore's number 1, and then I'd say Longman, then I'd say Barnett, but you don't know the qualities yet of Skoglund. We don't know how he'd adapt to English football, so you can't possibly say be second, he'd be last. You don't really know, but I think if we're looking at a player that's going to leave out of those 3, if we are to secure the services of the youngster, I think a loan move could be possible for Ryan Barnett down that right hand side for another club. He could probably get a championship, maybe not a top end League One move. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, a really interesting rumour, and a rumour which I think is quite ludicrous. A rumour's been going around on social media saying that Wrexham Football Club have reportedly made a hush-hush approach for a European striker for a reported fee of £14 million. Now, Bethany Patrick, who does write for the Football League World, has written an article saying Wrexham have made an approach for a European striker for a large fee of £14 million, which would make him the club's record signing after Nathan Broadhead, who he signed in the summer. Now, in my opinion, if we're looking at this, I believe a striker might be on Phil Parkinson's radar, but not to an extent where we would go out and pay £14 million, especially in the January transfer window. We were linked with Siddiqui Sharif earlier on in the season, I think October, November time, but it looks as if he's making the switch to Paris FC. He's staying in France, so that could maybe chalk his name off the list. If it does come to the end of the January transfer window and Wrexham have spent £14 million on a European striker, I'll sit back and I'll just accept defeat, because I cannot see this happening in the slightest. I believe if Wrexham are going to go into a market to sign a striker, it will possibly be an English striker from the EFL or the Premier League. We really don't know, but let me know your thoughts. Do you think Wrexham will go out and sign a European striker for a reported fee of up to £14 million? Because at this moment in time, I don't think that's possible. And finishing off the video with a possible departure from the club. Now, Rob Ryan Red have exclusively revealed that Bristol Rovers of League Two are pushing and are in the front running to sign youngster Harry Ashfield on loan until the end of the season, and it's up to Wrexham to sanction this loan in the transfer window. A number of League One and League Two clubs have also inquired about the 19-year-old youngster. Now, in my opinion, for Ashfield, it's all about game time. We've seen him come through the ranks, we've seen him score goals in the Wrexham first team, but I think you're looking at the competition, it's understandable he's not played a lot this season, it's understandable that he's not been in the squad, so a move to a League One or a League Two team I think would do him the world of good, would do his possible future at Wrexham the world of good. But whether Bristol Rovers of League Two is a good fit, they're struggling at the end of the League Two table, I don't know. I would like to see Ashfield possibly push himself and get that League One move and push for a regular spot at a League One team. At this moment in time we don't know, but it's what's right for Ashfield, and game time is the main priority for him to adapt to men's football even further than he already has. So that is it for today's video. Plenty of transfer talk, which is probably going to be the theme on the channel over the next couple of weeks, because January is always a busy time for Wrexham. We're pushing for promotion, we're pushing for the playoffs, so of course I think we're going to see financial backing for Phil Parkinson and backing in the transfer window. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What positions do Wrexham need to strengthen in the upcoming weeks? And until the next video, take care guys. Up the Championship Reds and up the promotion contending Reds.